You know, at this age of 60, when I look back on the journey I've walked, I realize something strange. There are moments in life when a person's strength doesn't come from what they display on the outside, but from what they quietly keep for themselves. I'm sitting here in front of this camera, not to give you a dry lecture, but to share as an old friend, someone who has been through many ups and downs, who has tasted both glory and loss. And perhaps what I share with you today may touch your heart, especially if you are in your 40s, 50s, or 60s. The age when we begin to reflect more deeply on peace, on maturity, and on the true value of life. I want to begin with a simple question. Have you ever felt like you spoke too much, shared too much, and then regretted it later? I believe many of us have. There are times when you excitedly tell your friends about a new plan, and then suddenly all those doubts and criticisms drain your initial motivation. Or maybe you've poured your sadness onto social media, hoping for empathy, but instead received only curiosity, judgment, even mockery. I've witnessed this many times, and I myself have gone through it too. A friend of mine, Robert, is now 62. A few years ago, he proudly started a new business at the age of 55. He shared it everywhere with family, with friends, with former colleagues. At first, everything looked so bright, but after just a few tough months, those very words he once bragged about became the reason others whispered, "See, I told you starting over at that age was bound to fail." Robert told me what hurt him wasn't the failure itself, it was the feeling that people turned his dream into a joke. Since then, he learned one thing tender: dreams, fresh plans, let them grow quietly before bringing them into the light. Do you see yourself in this story? Have you ever shared a dream too soon, only to find it losing its life and energy? People often think strength comes from showing, from proving to the world what we have. But the truth is, the opposite true strength sometimes comes from silence, from knowing what to protect and when to keep it close to your chest. I remember reading a psychological study once which said that when we share our plans, our brain already feels as if we've accomplished part of the work. Just by talking about it, you get the sensation, "Yes, I'm closer to success." But in reality, you haven't even started. That false sense of progress can steal your drive. That's why silence sometimes is the strategy that keeps your inner fire burning longer. And silence isn't just for protecting dreams. It's also for protecting dignity and peace of mind. I once met an older woman who often posted about her family problems on Facebook, her quarrels with her husband, her children disappointing her. She thought it was a way to find comfort. But over time, she became the subject of gossip. People no longer respected her, they only saw her as a source of entertainment. Until one day, she decided to stop. She told me, "Some joys I only need to keep in my heart. Some sorrows I whisper only to God." And you know what? From that day on, she looked more peaceful, her face began to glow in a way no cosmetic could create. Does that feel familiar to you? That sometimes we rob ourselves of peace, simply because we rush to share too much. I want you to imagine this. You have a small garden where you've planted precious seeds. If on the very first day you dig them up just to show others, will those seeds have a chance to grow? Almost never. We are the same. Our dreams, our plans, our hopes, they are seeds in the soul. They need quiet. They need time. They need to be nourished in silence before they can bloom. At 60, I no longer dream of being recognized by the whole world. I don't need to prove myself to anyone anymore. What I want is the peace of sipping tea in the morning, a few friends who truly understand me, and the serenity of knowing I've lived true to my core values. But to find that peace, I had to learn to let go of the need to overshare, to boast, to prove. Have you ever thought that true freedom doesn't come from applause or recognition, but from being able to live comfortably, even if no one knows your achievements? Have you ever felt happy in small, quiet moments, like sitting on the porch at dusk, watching the sunset? No one taking pictures, no one praising you yet. Your heart feels completely full. That is freedom. That is true maturity. And today, I want to invite you to walk with me on this journey. The journey of knowing when silence is power, of learning to protect what must be protected, and of finding peace within. We'll talk about the things we shouldn't expose, the strength of guarding our plans and dreams, and the quiet authority that silence can bring into your life. So are you ready to walk this path with me? My dear friend, When we enter our 40s, 50s, or 60s, there is an undeniable truth. Life becomes more precious than ever. Each day, we grow more aware that time is finite. And because of this, the way we live, the way we care for ourselves, the way we choose to share or to withhold, carries a very different meaning compared to our younger years. Let me begin with an image. I truly love the seed in the dark. Did you know that every seed needs darkness to sprout? They cannot grow directly under the sunlight. They need silence. They need the soil's protection. They need time for their roots to anchor deeply before reaching upward. We humans are the same. Our plans, our dreams, our intentions all need a quiet space in order to develop. I've seen many people, especially in middle age, who when starting a new project, feel an urge to share it with everyone right away. They think that by doing so, they'll gain more motivation. But in reality, sharing too soon is like digging up a seed every day just to show, look, it's about to sprout. The result is that the seed dies young. I once witnessed a friend who wanted to write a book. She told so many people that she was about to become an author. But because she hadn't finished writing, she received endless questions. When will it be published? How far along are you? Why is it taking so long? Those questions slowly turned into pressure, and in the end, she gave up. She admitted to me, I should have stayed silent until the manuscript was finished. Have you ever been in such a situation? When sharing too early made you lose momentum? If so, I encourage you to try something different. Remain silent until the work is truly complete. Let the result speak for itself instead of your promises. Now let's move to another area, private life. In today's age of social media, it seems as though everyone has become an actor on a public stage. Today's meal, tomorrow's trip, even the most personal family matters. All can be uploaded with just a click. But have you ever paused to ask yourself, why am I sharing this? To find empathy? Or just to prove to the world that I'm happy? I once knew a neighbor's family who constantly posted pictures of their happy family on Facebook. But what few people knew was that behind those photos, they argued endlessly. And when true conflicts broke out, everything they had once shared became fuel for gossip, comparisons, and ridicule. One day the wife told me, if only we had kept part of our life to ourselves, maybe things would have been much easier. You see, family, friendship, love, these are not reality shows for the public to consume. Sacred relationships need protection, not exposure. If you feel lonely, you can choose to share with a close friend, a mentor, or a soulmate. Because not everyone deserves to hear the most intimate truths of your life. And then there is a sensitive topic we rarely dare to address: money. I have lived long enough to know that money can turn friends into strangers and even fracture families. A former colleague of mine, upon retiring, loved boasting about the money he had in the bank and the properties he owned. At first, people admired him, but gradually, friends distanced themselves while relatives only came around when they needed to borrow. He sighed to me, I should have kept quiet from the beginning. You see, wealth doesn't need to be proven through words. Let it be shown in the way you live, simple yet abundant, in the peace in your eyes, in the quiet ability to help others without fanfare. That is true richness. Beyond money, there is something even more delicate: our fears and personal failures. Every one of us has them. I do too. But the question is, whom do we share them with? A young man I once mentored was very genuine. He often shared his weaknesses with colleagues, believing he was being open-hearted. But when a promotion opportunity came, those same colleagues used his confessions to push him aside. I told him, not everyone deserves to know your fears. Be selective about whom you share with. Those who truly wish for your growth, a teacher, a confidant, or a counselor, will use that knowledge to help you heal. Others, however, may turn your vulnerability into a weapon against you. Have you ever felt that way? Believing you were being honest, only to be betrayed by that very honesty? If so, the lesson is this: guard the darker corners of your soul. Share them only when you know for sure that the listener will use them to help, not to harm you. There is one more thing I want to emphasize: negative thoughts. At any age, we all have gloomy days. But if you constantly unload your negativity onto others over time, they will feel drained and drift away. I once had a friend like that. Every meeting was filled with complaints, blame, and dissatisfaction. At first, I listened. But gradually, I began to avoid him because I no longer had the strength to carry his darkness for him. So what can we do? I often advise my students, write in a journal, take a walk. Outdoors, breathe deeply. Don't turn others into garbage bins for your negativity. Show them instead that you're making an effort to overcome it. Sometimes your silence is the very thing that protects your relationships. And finally, I want to talk about bragging over unfinished achievements. I have met many who eagerly proclaim that they are about to launch a company, about to publish a book, or about to unveil a project. Yet many of those things never come to fruition. Each time they lose a little trust from others and from themselves. You know, true value does not lie in what you are about to do, but in what you have already done. Achievements only carry meaning once they are real, not when they are floating ideas. All of the lessons I've shared, from keeping plans silent, protecting private life, not flaunting wealth, choosing carefully when to reveal failures, to holding back negativity, lead to a single door: inner peace. And I believe that at 50 or 60, peace is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. Peace does not mean that life has no storms. It means that no matter how fierce the storm outside, within you remains a quiet sky. It's like sitting on your porch, the wind howling, leaves swirling everywhere. Yet the cup of tea in your hand stays warm and your mind remains calm. That is the true strength of maturity. And so I want to ask you, are you ready to begin cultivating that peace? Starting today, my dear friend, we've walked quite a long road together in today's conversation. From keeping plans to ourselves, to protecting private life, being careful with money, choosing wisely whom to share fears and failures with, learning to restrain negative thoughts, and avoiding the temptation to boast about unfinished things. Every idea I've shared isn't just theory, but wisdom drawn from lived experience, from decades of watching and learning. When I was younger, I was like many of you, eager to share everything I knew, wanting to prove myself, longing for recognition. I thought that speaking more would make me stronger. But age has taught me a different lesson. Real strength lives in silence, in persistence, and in action. You see, a person does not need to shout to prove their strength. A lion doesn't have to roar all day in the forest, just its calm footsteps command respect. In the same way, a human being doesn't need to boast for others to believe. Actions, attitude, and results speak far louder than words. I want you to pause for a moment and think about yourself. How many times have you felt exhausted because you shared too much, only to be judged, taken advantage of, or even mocked? How many times have you regretted saying something that should have stayed within you? If that has ever happened to you, then please remember, not everyone deserves to enter the inner world of your heart. Keeping things to yourself does not mean you're selfish or distant. It simply means you value yourself enough to protect your seed until it's ready to blossom. A mature tree doesn't need to scream to prove it's alive. It quietly spreads its shade, and people naturally come to rest under it. One thing I often remind my students: learn the art of selective communication. When should you share? When you are certain it brings value. Whom should you share with? With those you trust, who genuinely want you to grow. When should you remain silent? When speaking would only drain your energy or distract you from the work you are doing. Speak less, but with depth. Hold more, but stand firm. That is the wisdom age gives us. And you know, above all, the most important thing is peace of mind. I've lived over 60 years, and I've seen countless people, wealthy but restless, successful but lonely, famous but exhausted. They may have everything, yet lack one thing: inner stillness. On the other hand, I've met very simple people: a farmer, a carpenter, a retired teacher who had little money, who weren't loud on social media. But in their eyes, there was always serenity, kindness, calm. And I realized that is what we're all searching for, though each of us calls it by different names: happiness, peace, freedom. So let me ask you, what are you searching for? Success in your career? A lasting relationship? Or simply a morning when you wake without worry? All are valid. But remember, that journey will feel lighter if you learn to keep what should be kept and only share what truly needs to be shared. Let me leave you with a few images to reflect on. A deep river flows quietly, while a shallow stream makes noise. The stronger the person, the less they need to boast. A mountain has stood for millions of years without a word yet. Countless people look up to it. A truly mature person doesn't prove themselves through talk, but through their presence, their composure, their way of handling the smallest details of daily life. My dear friend, after this video, you may not change overnight. But if even a single small seed appears in your heart, a seed of awareness, of the desire to hold more within, then I believe it will sprout. Nurture it with patience, with wise choices each day. Next time you want to share a plan, ask yourself, is this ripe enough to announce, or do I still need time to cultivate it in silence? Next time you want to post a private picture, ask, why am I sharing this? For real connection, or just to prove something? Next time you feel like bragging about an achievement, ask, is this truly solid, or just the first step? Each of these small questions, if you give them a few seconds, will help you live more firmly, more independently, and with fewer regrets. I know it's easy to say, harder to do. But life itself is a practice. We don't need to be perfect today. We only need to be a little better than yesterday. More silent today than yesterday, more patient tomorrow than today. Over the years, these small changes will transform you. Before I close, I want to leave you with one final question, the same one I ask myself each morning. What is one thing I will choose to keep for myself today, to let it grow quietly within me? It could be a work plan. It could be a creative idea. It could be a silent prayer. Let it stay with you like a small flame. And one day, when that flame grows strong, it will light not only your own path, but the path of those around you. And now let me leave you with this final reminder. You deserve to live a life of peace, depth, and meaning. Don't let the rush to share or the hunger for recognition steal that joy from you. Learn the art of silence, guard what must be guarded, and let your actions be your loudest voice. If today's sharing has brought you value, I warmly invite you to leave a comment and share your reflections. Who knows, your words might become a light for someone out there who feels lost. And if you wish to continue this journey with me, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so we can meet again in future conversations where I'll share more stories, more lessons gathered from over 60 years of life's experiences. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. May you always hold peace in your heart, and may you walk bravely on your own journey of growth.